explain the thing, I think.
Our official work session, first work session of the year for the City Council of Long Beach. At this time, we're going to begin with our first report. We want to remind you that this is just an open work session. We're so happy that you could be here to be a part and to witness. But there is no public comment during this session, so we just want to remind you of that. And with that being said, we're going to start with our first report coming from our Commissioner of Public Works. We'll hear from Commissioner John Miranda.
Okay, broke this report up into three sections: status of ongoing projects, upcoming resolutions that DPW will be presenting to the council, and some miscellaneous items. Status of ongoing projects: the reconstruction of 200 block of East Fulton contract was awarded to Allen Associates. We held a pre-construction meeting yesterday on September 23rd, and we expect construction on that project to start 2 weeks from today. OEM office, work is nearly complete, working on punch list items. The clerk's office and technology department working on equipment and furniture. Unfortunately, there was a change in the New York State contract for furniture and TVs, so there'll be a delay in that. We expect at least the conference room to be up and running by the end of October, and to also, have the OEM people put together the group from the various agencies that will be working within the OEM when some kind of emergency occurs. Critical infrastructure bulkhead, the FEMA project. The only outstanding item on this is an agreement with the Long Island Railroad. Project bids will be available tomorrow, 9/25. Bids will be returned on October 17. We will be needing to do a bond resolution for $20 million in either October or November. This is FEMA reimbursable money and will be reimbursed as the project goes along. Asphalt overlay has begun. Today, they were doing National Boulevard and West Park, the intersection. They're working on West Walnut Street from Walnut to Edwards, no intersections. Wednesday, September 25th through September 30th, not including work on Saturdays and Sunday. We'll be doing Nebraska Street between West Park Avenue and West Beach Street. We'll be doing Tennessee Avenue between West Park Avenue and West Beach Street. Friday, September 27th through Wednesday, October 2nd. Again, no work on Saturday or Sunday. We'll be doing East Walnut Street between Pacific Boulevard and Roosevelt Boulevard. The intersection of Roosevelt Boulevard and East Park, and East Broadway between Franklin Avenue and Neptune Boulevard. Monday, September 30th, 2019 through Thursday, October 3, 2019, Monroe Boulevard between East Park Avenue and East Walnut, and the intersection of East Hollow Street and Franklin Boulevard on the west side. The community rating system work to maintain our flood insurance status. The planning committee has been formed. We have 9 members of the employee staff from various departments as recommended by Tetra Tech, and we have 8 invited outsiders from things such as COAD, the Chamber of Commerce, local developer. So we have a committee of 18 people who will be having our kickoff meeting with Tetra Tech, which will be held on October 2nd from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. here on the 6th floor. Hazard mitigation at the West End Community Center, their contract was awarded. Materials are on order. This is the stop block system. They have a long lead time. The police department, the fire department, HVAC, the AC portion was completed in June, and the company, High-Tech, is presently working on the heating portion. which will be done plenty of time for the winter time. That project is about 75% complete. Reconstruction of Boyd north of Pine. Deputy Commissioner Fabrizio has been out surveying the street, marking out water mains, and developing the base map so that we can plan to design the replacement of the mains, the sewer pipe, and the asphalt overlay curves and sidewalks. The Walks water main replacement, people in the Walks may have seen people from Rayon de Roon, the surveying company, they're presently performing that survey as a first step to that design for the Urban Guadalupe. Upcoming resolutions that we expect to be submitting to the council, water for North Shore Bulkhead Project, which we will do at this October 2nd meeting. This is a GOSA funded project. 11 contractors picked up the bid packages and attended pre-bid meetings. Only 2 contractors presented bids. Woodstock was the low responsible bidder, and the contract value came in at $9.9 million, which is actually $1.5 million below what the engineer's estimate was, which will allow us to move, we're working with GOSA now to move that $1.5 million into the drainage project and adding back some of the drainage projects that were cut out of the GOSA. We're looking to award the contract for the lifeguard headquarters and compass stations at Neptune in New York. We would bring that to the October 2nd council meeting. Bids were received on September 19th. This is a Wicks Law project because it's over $1.5 million. The state requires that the project be bid as a general contract, electrical contract, and a plumbing contract. There were 3 bids for general construction. There were 5 bids for electrical. There were 2 bids for plumbing. The lowest responsible general contract construction consultants of Long Island bid was at $3,002,000. The lowest responsible electrical contractor, Ogden Energy Group, bid was at $175,000. And the lowest responsible plumbing contractor, the plumbing bid, was at $391,599. The total cost of this project will be $3,568,599, and $1.8 million of this is being funded by FEMA. We will also be trying to bring to, this year we put a lease line in the sanitation budget to lease 6 new sanitation trucks. We're working on that lease and we'll hopefully present that at the October 2nd meeting so that we can receive a purchase order. There is a state contract for these trucks, and we have spec'd them out already. We'll just be presenting a resolution. Those are what we expect to come up in terms of October resolutions from Public Works. Miscellaneous. We had gotten some information from Allison Blanchett that was very helpful on better signage and markings of the bike lane on the boardwalk. I think it shows some real promise. I would like to see, and advance the council, if we could appoint a committee of a couple of avid bike riders and a couple of active walkers to develop some ground rules so that we can put these on the signs. And then I will be developing a cost estimate of what this will cost. Just to update you on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering Beach Project. As you can see, they're out there planting dew grasses and plantings again to finish that portion of the project. We did send a letter on July 24th to the Colonel Asbury of the U.S. Army Corps and copies of the DEC listing on concerns with the project. We have 3 major concerns: the structural stability of the groins, the dangerous conditions for swimmers and surface created by 7 groins not rehabilitated, and the sand filling in the maintenance lane between the boardwalk and the dew. As of this date, we've received no response from the Army Corps or from the DEC. We will continue to follow up with that. As I mentioned before, we're able to move, we're going to work with GOSA to move some of the savings from the North Shore Bulkhead into the GOSA drainage project. That would cover Park Avenue to Nevada with the pump station on Tennessee, would include drainage improvements on National south of Park, and would include redoing National similar to the way Edwards will be done under the grant that we have with the state DOT. We'll include a project at Riverside and Pine, and also the 500 block of East Bay Drive. And this is dependent on being able to move that $1.5 million from the bulkhead project into the drainage project. This design is 90% done and will be being reviewed by our office and by GOSA in October. There are 3 of our hazard mitigation programs that are in design that were approved by FEMA. One for the MLK Center, one for 150 West Pine Street, which is where we house all our public works departments, street, beach, and sanitation, and also for the ice arena. As a follow-up question about the elevators, on September 10th, we met with Unitech, our elevator contractor, who has a 3-year maintenance contract with us, and also a section to make capital improvements. It was explained to us the manufacturer of the elevator at City Hall is out of business and parts are no longer available for repair. Presently, there's not enough dollars budgeted to secure all new parts and mechanisms and labor to refurbish both elevators. In order for both elevators to work in sync with each other, all control mechanisms must be the same, and it appears that control mechanisms are continually changing. Therefore, we will be ordering all the parts, control mechanisms, and new safeties for both elevators, and we will repair the elevator that is presently not working, and we'll have the parts put aside for the elevator that is working. In the next budget cycle, we will request funds to refurbish the other elevator, which is still working. We had some parts made up for that, which were very expensive. There is a 6-month lead time on these items, but I hope within the next, the work will take about 8 weeks for each elevator. So hopefully within the next 8 months, we'll have both elevators working. And that's my report.
First, I want to thank Commissioner Miranda for that extensive work. Clearly, a lot of preparation went into it. In that this is the first time we're having this type of meeting, I just wanted to make a suggestion going forward. This information that we're hearing tonight, we're all hearing together for the first time. This is the preliminary stage before it's formally presented to the council at a council meeting. And clearly, there's a lot of work that's going on and a lot of work that will be going on. I think in the future, maybe a printed agenda would be beneficial so we could actually read along, and maybe some type of itemized list so we can follow along with what's going on. There's clearly a lot of work going on. I'm trying to take notes as it's going and formulate questions as you're saying it, but logistically it's hard to do both, and that's not anything of your concern. You did what was asked of you on this room tonight. Just from the council point of view, I think we should probably request that the next time we have this type of meeting.
Type reports that we can follow up with.
And for the public too, so we can all follow along and have a meaningful dialogue.
I will email out a copy to the entire council tomorrow personally.
Thank you.
But I'm sure there's some additional questions.
Sure, I guess, like Councilman Mandel, I was trying to take notes, but, so I'm sure I missed a lot, and once I see the printed version, I'll probably answer. Just a question about the lifeguard. The 3.5 million you mentioned, that was the lifeguard headquarters and the bathrooms?
That's lifeguard headquarters and the bathrooms at Neptune and New York.
Right, okay. So the lifeguard headquarters, what happened to the second floor? Is that going on, or?
No, there's not enough money to put the second floor on. We did have somebody that wanted to make a donation, but it turned out he backed out on doing that donation. The lifeguard headquarters is being designed, though, for the future to be able to take a second floor in the event that the funds are better, we can, go with the second floor. There will be, however, an observation deck on the top floor that will have access from inside the building, and will have a glass railing around the complete shell, so lifeguards will be able to be on top of that lifeguard headquarters. It will be built at Riverside at the portion of the deck that is flat over the dune, so they'll have some good visibility looking, east and west. In addition, the bathrooms at Neptune and New York each will have a 12-foot by 10-foot, what they call the East School, West School lifeguard headquarters will be attached to those bathrooms, and only lifeguards will have access to that.
Okay. On the, you said the Army Corps wasn't responding. I participated in the monthly call yesterday, and I guess I participated, I believe, in the one last month, but I was the only person, well, technically I'm not even from the city as an employee, but I'm just wondering, did the communication fall apart somewhere because no one's on the call and they're not responding? Is there,
The communication itself not only went to the DEC and to the Army Corps, but it also went to Dan Fall, to Mike Ortega, who were the day-to-day people handling.
it's all on across the board?
And it also went to Senator Chuck Schumer, who's been a champion of this project, and
I assume you're aware there's a new project manager. I forgot the woman's name. She identified herself on the call. Sorry, I didn't write the name down, but the project manager was stepping back and going back to the home office.
they've had a lot of change in personnel in the last couple of months.
Yeah, there was some woman that's taking over the project.
And by the way, this was the second notice. We sent them a notice about this maybe half a year, 8 months prior to that also, with our concerns about the groins.
Well, they had mentioned during the call that they thought all the work in Long Beach was pretty much done. And then a couple of civic leaders were on it. One of them said, well, what about the showers? And they went, oh yeah, we forgot about that. So,
Councilman Bennett, do you think at this point it would be important for us as a council to move forward with the letter, which is issued a letter on behalf to promote our advocacy with respect to this issue of being
to the Army Corps, you mean?
yes.
If the commissioner thinks that will be helpful.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful because it would be a good follow-up. I would almost just send another letter with the same information we had in the letter that we had compiled with coastal planning engineers.
Also, can you just elaborate a little bit more with respect to, you said you were forming a committee, you have about 18 people on that committee. Could you just talk about that a little bit more in terms of the group membership?
Sure, it's very important that we get this report done and to the December 3rd council meeting approved. This will be a floodplain management plan when we're finished. In addition to maintaining our level 7 or our class 7, we will also hopefully improve that to a class 6, which will give us an additional, will give our residents an additional 5% savings on their flood insurance. The Tetra Tech, who was the proposal that the project was given to, recommended a committee based on getting us an initial 18 points on the thing, and includes having somebody from Public Works, somebody from the fire department, somebody from the building department, somebody from public outreach, somebody from the city manager's office, which I thought would think, and also a representative from the Chamber of Commerce, a representative from COAD. We did reach out to Liz Treston, and we had already spoke to Kevin Riley to be part of the committee because he has some experience in this area. And Liz recommended that he be the person to represent COAD. Our emergency manager or our local disaster recovery manager, Rich Corbin, will be on it. Joe Fabrizio from my office, and Tyler Hoffman is going to represent the city manager's office. He's been working there. He's been a tremendous asset. And we also have somebody from economic development. We have Patty Horn and Rebecca Steiner. So we have a good committee. And we also have some people from the public, Tom Kinnack from the Walks. So we've put together, we have that old tool from the insurance industry, which was important. And we have Anthony Rector as a local developer, these are all areas that were recommended. And, we want to get this kicked off right away. So October 2nd, we'll have the kickoff meeting, and Tetra Tech will guide us on what we need to do. They will be doing all the bull work and putting what's together, but it's important for them to reflect things off the committee.
If you can send that list to us, that would be helpful. And then
Sure.
also, I guess, you coordinate to make sure that the city actually posts the actual overlay work, the schedule is listed.
That's already been posted on the website.
Right. Yeah, I know it's on the website, but is it possible, based on the fact that you have different weeks for different groups, that that information will remain constant throughout the?
Oh, you're talking about the CRS committee?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
The floodplain, the committee related to the floodplain management plan, does that committee dissolve when the plan is done? Or if I remember, it's like optional to keep it going or something like that?
It will be dissolved once the council approves the flood management plan. There will be a public hearing once the plan is complete, prior to the December 3rd meeting. And we have a date set, I just don't have it offhand.
Okay.
But there will be, once the plan is formally, there will be a public hearing for input from the public. And then once we get that input, then we'll be bringing the finalized plan to the council for their approval.
Just switching topics, I think you mentioned about OEM, that the conference room is going to be ready in October. Is that the conference room?
That's the large conference room and the conference room upstairs, correct?
Okay, and you said that the other parts remain to be done. Could you just briefly go over what else would remain?
Yeah, a lot of the furniture, the desks and computers, PCs at each one of the desks for each one of the individuals that will be there. Some of the TVs, whiteboard, record whiteboard, that type of stuff. And that money's all coming from a grant that was given to us by Senator Kaminsky for that purpose.
As we're going through, I'm sorry.
No, I just a point of clarification, just to remind you that Commissioner Kemmons will also update us a little bit more in detail with respect to the OEM as well. That was all.
I'll wait on that.
Yeah, we're building the OEM, actually, Commissioner Kemmons is gonna be running the OEMs.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Commissioner Warren? If not, thank you so very much for your report. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your time and effort.
Thank you.
This time on the report from economic development. Warren. Thank you for joining us.
Don't you forget to tell Pat to get
Good evening. Pleasure to be here with all of you and everyone out in the audience. I'll briefly go over this report, because it is quite long, and look for the opportunity to talk to you and answer any questions. The history of this department, it was created in 2013 with funds from an outside foundation for 2 years, and because we did a good job, we received 2 additional years of funding, so a total of 4 years, which paid for the salaries of myself and the staff. At the time, we had myself and 2 other professional planners full-time for those 4 years. Currently, it's me as the director. We've also had, in the last few years, interns or part-time employees, all of whom have been studying planning at Hunter College. I don't know how, but they all went to Hunter. All great young men and women who are getting their graduate degrees. We currently have 1 person on staff who is at school at this time. We also have a part-time assistant who we share with community development and the DPW benefits program, which helps with economic development. So the goals of our department are various. I'll start with economic development. First and foremost is increasing the commercial tax base by assisting Long Beach businesses to grow, to expand, and of course to attract new businesses. One of our shining lights of new business, I think we'll appreciate, is the co-working space, Brickworks on Long Beach Boulevard. We also have an LDC, we also have an LDC, which is created under New York State law, and through the LDC as a 501c3, a nonprofit, we brought in over $200,000 in grants for economic development purposes over the years. We work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce. We have monthly meetings with city staff and their board to talk about issues. We also attend with many times city council members, their monthly public meetings where there's a city update presented. And our goals are to help the city's downtown and, of course, individual businesses. Resources. I have been keeping a log, and we approximately help about 10 to 15 businesses or people interested in starting a business each month. They call on various topics. We've had in the past several business trainings. I just handed out, we have them downstairs in the lobby, our business directory, which provides information on businesses for new residents and attracting for visitors. And that is paid for by dollars from advertisers, and we update that every year. We do have changes to our business community. We've been successful working with local businesses and our 2 utilities, PSEG and National Grid, in getting them in businesses significant grants. There are complicated processes of what can be applied for, and two shining examples are Bright Eye New Brewery, which is opening across the street, which has gotten money both from the SCG and National Grid, and Baked by the Ocean, which got a large grant from the SCG. I'll talk more about planning later, but our major focus of planning is a comprehensive plan and zoning updates. In terms of grants, which is one of the key foundational areas for our department, we try to leverage funds as much as possible. By that I mean that we want to minimize costs to the taxpayers by using tax dollars. So in many cases with grants, we've used in-kind matches, meaning staff time, we've had donations, and of course we've had many volunteers involved. And we approximate that over the years we've brought it over $5 million. Some of the big projects are the comprehensive plan, Essex Boulevard, working, and Park Avenue, working very closely, of course, with DPW taking the lead on those engineering projects. The Arts Council. We're very proud of the Arts Council. It's a small group, but a very dedicated board of 9 members and a great part-time director. There are lots of things that are going on now, and their goal is to support local arts organizations and artists and provide arts and cultural programs for the community. They received a grant for this year from the state, and they just applied for a grant for next year from the state. They also raise money through donations and memberships. The census, I won't go into much, except as we've talked about before, my department's goal is to work with other departments to make sure that all the housing units are conveyed to the Census Bureau so that they are counted, so that each unit of housing in the city receives a census forms to fill out. Bike rentals. We've had for 5 years, so we provide rental bikes. And right now, my department and the Corporation Council are working on an RFP, which will be led soon for a new contract. Our contract has expired, and the current company has said they're really moving out of the type of business that would be able to work with us here in Long Beach, so looking for large states. So we've been actively talking to Suffolk County, Nassau County, and others about how they're doing their bike rental programs. Collaboration, we do a lot, especially as planners and developers, we do a lot of internal collaboration with other city departments. On the external side, working outside of city departments, we work with a lot of local groups, everything from nonprofits to realtors, to the arts. We work with the county and state closely so that we are brought up to date on grants and planning efforts going on, development efforts, and with other organizations as well. And I would say, in summary, that our achievement areas are grants, economic development, the arts, planning, and collaboration, which is also with our residents, so very important. In terms of recommended goals, we have kind of stalled, honestly, with the comprehensive plan. And I think that looking backwards, if we had known what we know now, we would have done it differently. But at the time we applied for the funds, we executed the process with the consultant, the seemed investing. But there's been a lot of changes in Sandy, a lot of concerns, very justified over local development, a lot of concerns about gentrification, about community character. And what we've been trying to do in-house is to look to take out things that people have major concerns about. We've heard everyone, and we are very attuned to people's concerns with the draft plan. So our goal is to make a modified plan. Can we do the plan? They don't have a consultant, I'm only one person, it's not 3 people when we started out. But we'd like to make a modified plan to make it acceptable for generally our residents to bring before the city council. Again, another recommendation is to reconvene in several years our advisory committee made up of local residents for their input so that it's a collaborative process, a joint process with our residents to put together something that people find acceptable. Because I just want to take a few more moments to talk about why a comprehensive plan is so important. And then eventually, of course, getting into the zoning update, because that is critical for the city having not been updated in 30 years. You know, the building department and the zoning board, their hands are really tied, and their attempts to require realistic measures to deal with issues that are concerned to residents that we've heard so many times. Overdevelopment, resiliency issues, gentrification. For example, there are no measures in place to reduce on-site flooding on properties, and new development requires developers to consider the impact of their actions on their neighbors in a cumulative manner, or require a minimum number of workforce housing units. Funders want to know that and I have talked to a lot of funders, that their investments will be going to a place that is considering current and future needs through an adopted plan. It's a consensus by the community of what they want. We've talked a lot about creating a planning board, which is common in many communities, and would provide the city with the mechanism to best address the complex issues involved in major developments, such as currently proposed by South Napa Community Hospital, the property and project proposed for the former Hebrew Academy property, and potential future development on the foundation block, sewer block, and Stop and Shop properties. Because a planning board has under state law certain elements and controls that the zoning board does not have. Retaining and attracting millennials, so many of our young people live in this community, and a lot of other people certainly come to Long Beach or live in Long Beach because they prefer a walkable community with transit-oriented development around our train station. We have nothing in our zoning code currently that addresses and provides an incentive for this kind of development, in contrast to most communities that do. An adopted comprehensive plan is a legal instrument that provides significant tools in dealing with the impacts of county, state, and federal actions. For example, with FEMA, in the future, if the plan and the consequent zoning changes require a certain level of development or certain maximum level of development or certain quality of development, for example, with when the boardwalk was rebuilt, then it's in our plan and it's in our zoning. FEMA will say, okay, we will fund you at that level to accomplish what you need with City Hall, as I said, the boardwalk. Now, under current federal laws and plan not addressing resiliency because it has been updated since before Superstorm Sandy, it's not there, meaning you have to fight it as we did very successfully. But we've been told that it's in the plan, in the zoning, then they will concur and will be in a much more advantageous position for any future disasters. We also have the local waterfront revitalization plan. I won't go into that now because I know my time's running out. But again, it's another protection that is signed off on by the state and the federal government, providing the city with controls over potential future development on the land and water side. Mentioned by John is our community rating system, again, with an adopted plan dealing with resiliency issues that we know are so important, and the zoning updates that would help us in our goal to reduce flood insurance rates. I'm almost done. Being very involved in grants and working with federal and state agencies, the advantage of having a developed plan is that when funding is considered, like for example, there's been recent state funds that have all been $10 million that won the state award this year. And one of the things that was noted in the media is they got the award because they had finished their plans. They were working for several years on plans, and the state looks at that again to see the community ready to move forward. Finally, the residents are looking to the future, of course, and having an updated, adopted, comprehensive plan and zoning code not only provides legal direction, but the process through the zoning code update will create the opportunity for residents to come together, as the Long Beach people want to do, to build consensus on their priorities, on the residents' priorities, and stressing neighborhood by neighborhood that's so important, because every neighborhood in Long Beach is different.
Thank you. Now, here's a question. So can you just kind of share, how many businesses do you recall that have actually reached out to you or to your office to participate in the Opportunity Zone?
Oh, that's a good question. I've had some calls from people that do not understand opportunity zones, so I refer them to the IRS Treasury information on the website, because we're not going to advise them. In terms of practical, professional developers who are ready to move forward, I've talked to some as an incentive and they agree, but we haven't had anything specific coming yet. But I would say about 3 or 4 developers have talked to us, and they've acknowledged that it's very well known now in development community, and we told them about this as an incentive for the area to Park Avenue going on to Bay.
And my second question, my last question, with respect to the comprehensive plan, I know that, as you've said before, we're in a period where we need to really revisit, the plan. And so a part of that conversation, was the concept of having a Renaissance district, in the North Park community. So I'm wondering, will that be a part of that conversation in terms of the comprehensive plan?
Yes, that's a very good point, and I referenced it a little bit in my notes as you go over quickly. And, yes, in fact, I was reviewing your memo tonight, so, we're talking about it earlier in the year. The idea in North Park of dealing with the concerns that we've already discussed with the residents of North Park, which include inclusive zoning, community benefits agreements, requiring, which affects all of Long Beach, a certain percentage of workforce housing, so that it's available to people who are young people, to keep in the community, as well as people who have income limits and need assistance is very important. And the other parts of the Renaissance plan to acknowledge economic development and to recreate business in the community and the cultural, historical, arts concerns. Yes.
I just had a quick follow-up on the comprehensive plan. I know the amount of work and effort we put into that, so thank you. You referenced the planning board. Can you just briefly remind us how that differs from the zoning board, and how would that planning board be used?
Thank you. Typically for a city, the planning board is a separate entity. I say that because in the towns, in Nassau County, the planning board is provided through the town board, town council. In the city of Long Beach, the planning board has certain abilities under state law, and we have more information on that, to look at projects regarding things like community character, transportation, parking, things that are very much concerned, height. The zoning board looks at things based upon the appeal from the building department. The planning board would look at a project comprehensively and say, okay, what kind of effect, what kind of impact would it have on our community in water, in sewers? What kind of positive impact in terms of providing an increase to the tax base, providing jobs? It looks at it in totality and makes recommendations for consideration by the developer before it is approved by the planning board. Planning board typically is composed of 5 to 7 members, similar to the zoning board with a chairperson, and the members serve for a certain amount of time appointed by the city council. And the importance there is to have a diversity of people on the planning board representing different parts of the community, different interests of the community. And in talking about this, we've anticipated, because we haven't had one, I don't think ever, certainly not in many, many years, that we would want to provide training for any new members of the planning board, and we would get assistance, I know, from the state.
Thank you, sir.
Do planning board recommendations carry any weight like the zoning board, or are they just staff recommendations?
It depends on what the issue is. On certain issues, yes, it would have to be approved by the planning board, and other things would be recommendations.
To go back to the bike rental, my understanding is Sobeys getting out of the bike business, they're gonna do just electric bikes and scooters. For the RFP that's going out, are we sticking with manual pedal bikes, or are we also looking to transition?
Very good question, yes, Sobeys was bought by Uber, only does electric bikes and those kind of things now. So we've had a lot of discussions internally with staff, and we've talked to the police commissioner, and there's several issues here. We certainly, I think, want to have a new contract with a good firm that can provide us with great service for manual rental bikes. When we get into the area of electric or assisted scooters and assisted bicycles, currently, the New York State law has not been signed by the governor, it was passed by the House and the Senate. So currently, in Long Beach, we cannot legally have them. But in anticipation of the governor signing this, and I talked also to, I also talked with the town Hempstead, they've done a lot of research in this area. We don't anticipate it being signed by the governor this year, maybe, but we don't anticipate. Therefore, what we want to do is issue an RFP with optional, it's called mobility options, so that we would look for responses for manual bikes, with the option of maybe managers for electric scooters or electric bicycles in the future, if and when the governor were to sign a law. So we wouldn't be required to do this, but we can consider them, because there's some issues, for example, about the boardwalk, issues about electric scooters in town, where should they be, how fast do they go? And we want to look into all this and be very careful to keep our residents safe, but move forward with the rental manual bikes.
Is our local, I guess you don't want this local cycle, are they being offered the opportunity to put in a bid for, providing that service?
Oh, sure, but the RFP, we're still working on it internally, and it should be going out, I would say, the next month. When it is issued by our purchasing department, we will make sure that it goes to the local cycle of business. They had been solicited the first time 5 years ago, and we had some discussions with them at that time, with both businesses, actually 3 bicycle companies that were in existence at that time, and they declined. It didn't fit into their model because of the upfront cost. We have right now, had about 100 bikes per summer from Sobeys, so the investment just for the bikes is a tremendous expense.
Okay. I just want to go back to the comprehensive plan for a second. You were talking about maybe reconvening the committee, limitations because we don't have grant money, but the reality is to do it right. How much, I know you don't have this at your fingertips, but I'm just asking for an order of magnitude kind of answer. But if we want to hire an urban planner consultant in Alderman, how much do you think something like that would cost us? If we just want to, I'm assuming we're not going to start from scratch, but at least to revamp the plan, do it the right way. I'm assuming an urban planner would probably be a useful tool to have access to.
Having staff to help with that would be very worthwhile. And thank you for bringing up the point. What I think we want to do is first have a further discussion to examine the current plan and see where we feel the major faults are, or the major omissions, or where the major updates have to be. Then you can invest in the right kind of people. For example, is it economics, is it design, is it resiliency, is it talking about development? I can tell you that the local waterfront revitalization program plan, the state requires certain updates to get submitted to the state. About 3 years ago, it took 2 years to get back to us, and essentially they wanted us to redo it. And they gave us a grant last year to do that, and that was a $90,000 grant, just updated, which is a different document because it's dealing with technical issues of the state versus what we want to do with the comprehensive plan is make it work for the residents of the city council. The other thing I did mention, obviously, would be the outreach, and there's limits how much we can do internally, and so there's certainly very creative ideas out there for outreach that we may want to address as well.
Or is this something that should go into the comprehensive plan to be able to hire the necessary outside going local? I mean, like you said, you're yourself and one helper basically. So if we need to do this right, do we need outside professional help?
Well, as I said, I'd love to talk to the city council about it further, how much, we can edit down and take out the objectionable pieces, updates on the information that's going to change in a couple of years. But if we want to put a great effort into that, we need to figure that out and get a cost estimate for you. Number one. Number two, there is funds in the capital plan to do the zoning update, where that is where we can do more extensive outreach and more extensive technical work. That would be specifically based upon the zoning code versus comprehensive plan, which is more aspirational. Which I would recommend. I appreciate that we have a discussion.
Yeah, and then, again, we've got the plan, one of the arguments about it is it's needed because the zoning is out of date. But the simple truth is, we could make changes to the zoning code now if we need to. We've done it. But nothing's really been brought forward to make any changes to the zoning code. So if there's troublesome areas out there related to the zoning code, we can change that without the comprehensive plan being passed.
To that extent, I would defer to Greg.
Yeah, I get that.
And maybe when he comes up, he can talk about that, because I understand there's certain limits to what you can do, and not be, open to an Article 78 legal responsibility.
Okay, and then, I guess one final question. You talked about the local development corporation. My understanding is they, made a recommendation some months back, that they should be dissolved. I think we know there's been some legal liability issues that have been created because of them, and some expense to the city because of that. Are we going to dissolve them?
The recommendation has been that while there's litigation open, regarding the iStar property, that we do not move in that direction. But once that's resolved,
Okay.
We want to thank you so much, and I think based on all the questions that are raised here, we'll definitely move forward with meeting with you at a later date. So thank you so much for your time. We'll hear from Commissioner Kevin, who's going to bring us a report. We'll always update. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening. I'll start with the OEM since there are open questions on that. As Commissioner Miranda said, construction is nearing the end with some minor issues that will be addressed. Public Works handling the construction. At the same time, myself, supported Dave Frazier and Jamie Roman have been working on the electronics and furniture. The main room is what we refer to as the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, which is going to be the nerve center of any disaster or any event that we're going to be running from there. The furniture we needed for that, the state contract had issued, and it only just came on the state contract, and we actually got the quote today. Dave forwarded it to me, and tomorrow purchasing will get the purchase order request for that furniture. The other furniture, the conference tables, regular desks, we actually have a meeting Friday morning with WB Mason, who's on the state contract, and we'll meet with them Friday morning. So I'm hoping in the near future, we will have all the furniture and all the electronics. We didn't want to order it too early, because as everybody knows, this building doesn't have a lot of space, and if it does, it's in the wrong place. We didn't really have anywhere to really store anything. So we couldn't bring it up here during construction. So we're hoping before the end of the year, we're fully up and running. One of the first plans we have is to have a grand opening tabletop drill, which will bring in everybody that, if we have a disaster of some type or an event, large scale event that we're going to be working with, whether it be National Grid, the SCG, the Long Island Railroad, National County Office of Emergency Management. Everybody will have their position at their desk, and we'll have an event. That will be forthcoming, obviously the council will be there. The office is divided, like I said, into that emergency operations center. Then we have the main conference room, which will be for having different meetings. And then upstairs, we're going to have a small conference room. And that's going to be for all the decision makers during any event. The last thing you want is 30 people in a room when you're trying to run a disaster. So that will be limited to certain department heads and the council. Similar to what we did during Sandy, but we didn't have, we actually were granted the police commissioner's office for most of those meetings. And this will give us more space and we'll be able to hopefully not have another disaster, but whether it be a blizzard or a snow event, Pride weekend, whatever it will be, we'll be up and running and be able to coordinate. That's mainly our goal, is to coordinate any large scale events and they run, smoothly.
Thank you.
Actually, the question I was asking Commissioner Miranda, maybe you can help me with, we're going into the storm season now. So will that EOC room be functional and ready to go if in October something happens while we're waiting for furniture and other electronics?
We can, once they're done with the construction, it's ours to use. We might not have chairs for people, but I'm sure we can find them if we need it. I don't know if we'll have telephones, but once they're done with the construction, the room belongs to us and we can use it how we see fit.
We'll be ready. If something happens late October, which is what we experienced with Sandy, will we have that as our resource? Might still have some growing pains, but we can still use it.
I can't guarantee you where we are in the delivery of the electronics. We will have the space, and it is probably the only space we have to have a large amount of people, and, it should be available, but might be limited to what we can do with it, but we will have the space.
Thank you.
In conjunction with, obviously, the physical facilities, are we developing as part of this OEM EOPs and, excuse me for the acronym, emergency operating procedures, the people on that?
Yes, we're working closely with Nassau County. Every event will have its own incident action plan. We started that, we actually did one for Pride weekend. We attempted to do one for the water situation, but we're working very closely with Nassau County. Myself and Rich Paul are taking multiple classes there and to the state, and we will have an entire operation procedure, boilerplate for any type of event, whether it be a blizzard or some type of other storm. We will have a guide to go by. Obviously, every event is different, and every blizzard could be different. So we will have a boilerplate guide to guide us through that event.
Thank you.
All right, I'll move on to the building department now quickly. I know we're on the time constraint. I've been the commissioner now for 18 years, and when I started as building commissioner, I said, we need to make the building department user-friendly. Everywhere else you go, it's usually the big bad building department. Obviously, if you watch Channel 4 News with the town of Hempstead, they've been under the gun. My goal over my tenure was to not have that, and obviously Channel 4 did a very nice expose on us at the same time, using us to kind of bash the town of Hempstead. But, I'm only concerned about us and our residents. And, since Sandy, our whole department changed. We had, we were busy, but Sandy changed us. For at least 2 years after Sandy, we pretty much worked 7 days a week. 8-hour days went out the window, but our goal was to get everybody home as soon as possible. And, even though not everybody is home, we're still working with everybody throughout this process. To give you an idea, since Sandy, just for new and elevated Sandy homes, we've issued 1,211 permits. That's 419 new homes and 792 elevations. We still have pending 145 out there of people waiting. They could have been victim of contract fraud or some other delay, but we still have 145 pending. Every one of these new homes or elevations requires multiple inspections throughout the job, building, mechanical, plumbing, and that takes time and that takes staff. My staff is very dedicated, and like I said, they'll come, if somebody can't be home, they'll come to somebody's house at 8 o'clock to get them a certificate of occupancy to get them back home. We're working now to handle, we have a host of abandoned homes in town. We put them in violation, we go after the lending institutions, we clean the properties and put a lien on them. I know one in particular we've been dealing with that you have brought to my attention, that we're in the process of the one right next to the city garage. I emailed the bank today about that because they're still having inquiring what they want to do with the property, and I told them if I knock it down, it's going to be a lot more expensive for them than if they knock it down. So hopefully that will move forward. We try to be tough with the lending institutions because, you know, at the end of the day, they don't live across the street or they don't live next door to them, we do. The building, anybody have any questions on the building? And I'll go right on fire very quickly. Fire department, obviously, you know, the Long Beach Fire Department is the busiest fire department on Long Island. Last year was a record year for us, well over 5,000 alarms, and we're at approximately 200 alarms over that so far this year, what we were last year. Almost 80% of our calls are EMS oriented, and we have a dedicated group of both paid and volunteer firefighters that are ready to respond when needed. We just received a grant from FEMA for the fire department of almost $100,000 to replace 3 cardiac monitored defibrillators that we have on our advanced life support ambulances. If you remember last year, we had to buy one in a rush and I had to lease it. Now we'll have a grant that we can replace 3 with no cost to the city. Moving forward on that, the grant was just awarded 2 weeks ago, and we'll be working forward to purchasing that equipment based on FEMA. I do have one pending item that was pulled from the last council meeting's agenda, which was the renewal of the Atlantic Beach Fire District contract. What I'd like to do is get it on for the next calendar because they're under some time constraints. I'm going to be working on an email that I'd like to send out to the entire council to bring them up to speed on the changes on the contract and what is going on with it, so everybody's on the same channel with that.
Thank you.
Just saying, Chris, if you have it all in writing, you just, and I'm fine with it, you just want to photocopy your notes.
Right, I apologize for not being prepared, and I want to thank you for the condolences.
We're making this up as we go.
Right.
First time with
Yeah,
it.
my dad passed away, and I was out all last week, and came in Monday, and, you know, without knowing exactly the format, put some information together, and get some, you know, points.
First time, we'll take care of it.
It's a work session, like you said. And thank you, and again, for your family.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have to put the work session on pause because we do have to call the special meeting at this time.
Okay, good evening and welcome to a special meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach on Tuesday, September 24th, 2019, at 7 p.m. Have a roll call. Councilmember Diamond is absent. Councilmember Morano. Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Vice President Bender.
Present.
President Moore.
Present.
The record indicate the presence of Assistant Corporation Counsel Greg Kamenetsky, and I'll salute to the flag.
Councilman Mandel, will you
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first and only item this evening is a resolution appointing an acting city manager for the City of Long Beach.
All right, so at this time, there is a vacancy. There's been a vacancy as of 4:59 p.m. today. So we'll just move forward with the actual resolution. Are there any questions and or comments from the council? See none? Okay, at this time, Are there any questions and or comments from the public, the general public? And remember, we're speaking and addressing this item only. So you must speak to this actual resolution. Mr. Lester, I recognize you.
Thank you. Roy Lester.
Good evening.
No microphone.
Excuse me.
Thank you. This is a temporary position, I just heard.
Yes.
So what are you doing to find a permanent city manager?
The city council for several months has actually engaged in conversations with other people. So it's not that
So
we're
you're-
not in conversations in terms of looking at other individuals for the position. In addition, a couple of months ago, you may recall, we moved forward with the government HR. So that would be a search firm that would look for a permanent city manager. However, in light of the upcoming change with respect to the composition of the council, we're going to respectfully allow for those new members of the council to give voice to the new city manager, the permanent city manager.
Well, I would expect that, but the search, last time it was, you theoretically searched for 2 years and couldn't come up with anybody, and you still have not hired a search firm, is that correct?
The search firm, based on that resolution, we do have a search firm, and that's the government HR.
Have you hired them?
It was my understanding that when we moved forward with that resolution, and we took that vote several months ago, that they have been hired, it's just that we have not moved forward with the process.
So you have a contract with them or not?
That was my understanding of the
Mr. Kalinsky, you would know that.
I actually don't have any knowledge about the firm.
Scott?
My recollection is we've had discussions about retaining the firm. They have not been retained during the budget process. It was proposed that we take some funds and put it aside to retain the firm. That was not accepted. So my understanding is, although one organization was identified, they have not been retained.
That's my understanding too. And I would
Just for
urge
purpose of clarification, I'm not saying that they were retained, but I'm saying if that was the actual group, the search firm that we.
Oh, no, I just asked if they
Okay.
were retained. My problem is, I don't want to be here 2 years from now with still an acting city manager. And I respect and I think you're doing the right thing, waiting for the new council to take over before one is appointed. But that doesn't mean we can't search for one now. And
I'm
Mr.
in agreement with
Kalinsky,
that.
I respect the fact that you're having conversations, but that's a far cry from having a legitimate professional search firm to get us the best city manager.
I think we're both on the same page with
Thank
respect to your statement.
Thank
you. Are there any other comments at this time, Mr. Ashby? Okay, I want to remind everyone we're speaking to the representative.
John Ashmead, Beach Street, Long Beach.
Good
Thank you
evening.
for having me up. First, I'd like clarification. Has Mr. Agostisi resigned both positions that he held?
Want to speak to that?
I didn't receive a copy of his resignation, but my understanding is he did resign from both positions, yes.
Okay, thank you. Has, I recommend to the council that the new acting city manager, if appointed this evening, should promptly get the full file and correspondence with outside counsel and any authorities immediately in his possession. He should also ask the state comptroller for time to file any corrections or addendums to the response if it's been submitted already. And if the council needs to back that up, they should put it on the agenda for Tuesday night's council meeting to get all this stuff and make sure that you have control. I'll remind you what DA Singh has said in her August 29 letter to the city. And I'll just quote this part, that she said, the current and former city officials have failed to comply with the plain language of the city code and the former city manager's contract. And the city council, this is the part I'm going to focus on, has not adequately exercised its oversight authority. It's about time that this council does that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Once again, Mr. referring to the item at hand? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the voting.
The voting. So item one is a resolution appointing an acting city manager for the city of Long Beach. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second,
I will.
go ahead, Councilmember Romano.
Commissioner Miranda has always demonstrated that he will always put the residents first, and I know he will continue to do so, and I, of course, will be yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Bendo.
Thank you for stepping up, Commissioner Miranda, yes.
President Moore.
Yes, I just want to echo everything that's been said by my colleagues. We once again thank you for all that you've done so far, and we know that at this point you'll have the opportunity to really emphasize and display some of your skills in terms of leading our city at this time and maintaining stability. So for that, we say thank you, and I say thank
Make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second,
you.
go ahead, Councilmember Romano.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Vice President Bendo.
Yes.
President Moore.
Yes. We want to just congratulate you once again officially as our.
I feel like the New York Yankees next man up this season.
If you wish, you can, the seat is here for you.
Okay, I'll speak on the other side, see all of you. First, I'd like to thank all 5 of the council members for having the confidence in me to lead the city government through a challenging period. I know Julia called me and expressed the same, unfortunately she couldn't be here tonight. I want to thank Commissioner Tagney, Corporation Counsel Rob Agostisi for their leadership as acting city managers. Well, both had different management styles. I was able to gain valuable insight into the city and the short-term and long-term issues facing the city. From the time the council asked if I would fill this role, Rob has been bringing me up to speed on various ongoing legal issues, as well as other initiatives being handled by the city manager's office. Rob has set in motion several worthwhile initiatives that will benefit the city and its residents in the near future. As Commissioner of Public Works, I've always made myself available to meet with the residents and business owners. I will always listen to their concerns, find solutions, explain what is possible to do, and give explanations as to why something cannot be accomplished. As acting city manager, I will continue to be available to listen, not just to those who express their concerns at council meetings, but also to the many residents who do not attend council meetings and still have a desire to express their concerns to me directly. When our last permanent city manager left office, I had submitted a letter of interest in filling the permanent position of city manager. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances in my personal life, I had to withdraw from consideration. While those circumstances have not changed, my desire to see the city of Long Beach prosper and thrive remains strong, and I'm committed to the task at hand. I feel that it is important to note that while I presently do not live in Long Beach, I have a daughter who has been a teacher here in Adel for over 10 years, a son and daughter-in-law who have made Long Beach their permanent home. And as a person growing up in a surrounding community, I've watched Long Beach go through some tough times, I've watched it go through a renaissance, and I've seen the ongoing recovery from Sandy, and now firsthand facing some financial issues. While we certainly have a challenge road ahead, working together with the council, the residents, businesses, and our dedicated city workforce, I believe we can overcome the issues we have faced and secure a bright future for our city. One of the requests I made when asked to fill this role is that when the new council is sworn in and starts its search for a new city manager, that I be given consideration for the permanent position. Recently, I signed a contract with a real estate agent to sell my residence in Oceanside with the intent of moving to Long Beach. I love this city. We truly have a unique community, a spirit in Long Beach, and I am extremely proud and honored to accept this appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our special meeting. We did have several individuals who are still here and they're still willing to give their report. So for those of you who can remain, we'll just remain here. For anyone else who has to leave, we understand. but we were in the middle of the work session, we just wanted to make sure that we could go on record with those two reports. So at this time, we will hear from the police department. Anyone hear from the representative of the police department?
Commissioner Tackney is sick.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the financial report.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Can you hear me well? So with directed by the state council to provide an update on the city's operations as well as the town conflict goals. For the office of the city controller, is this better?
Yeah.
The office of the city controller duties are defined in the city charter, section 27. It looks like this section was last updated in 1917. Things changed a bit since that time, but generally I think it's rather comprehensive with some updated terminology and approach. It still refers to controller as CNG. Developing the goals for my office, I use city charter as the main guide. At the same time, I complemented it with what I think will contribute to the best stewardship of city's finances. This is a complex task in general, but even more so due to the rate of turnover the city had in office of the city controller. I want to make sure that I get credit for the team of incredible professionals who work in office of the city controller. They're an example of professionalism, integrity, and hard work. It's truly incredible, in my opinion, that the city has been able to manage its accounting and record keeping without having a permanent long-term controller since basically 2012. This lack of continuity in office since 2012 is reflected in the findings in both the annual reports prepared by the UZ and FRB reports, both are posted on the city's website. While transactional functionality of those is maintain strategic direction and overall management of the accounting and financial reporting process. My job now is to establish strategic directions, group financial planning, management of financial risks, record keeping, and financial reporting. I focus now on learning about city's operations, comprehensively assessing where we are, what's missing, and how to make it whole. I meet with various city department managers to gain understanding of activities, priorities, and challenges in their respective departments and to evaluate strengths and weaknesses, effectiveness and adequacy of their existing systems. Throughout this process, I expect to gain an understanding of control environments as well as to identify any possible operational efficiencies. I believe that there is a great deal of opportunity to convert its current manual processes to electronic processes. I had several discussions with information technology team, Dave Fraser and Jamie Rowan. They brought me up to date on the city efforts and status in the area of transferring procurements, purchase requisitions, and payroll time and week management to process them in the city's ERP system unit. See page 24 and 25 of the FRB report as well. Another area where records need to be integrated into the ERP's capital assets is one of the findings in the state's audit report. The shared fiscal year 2019 projections on 3 major funds with the city council. This projections were prepared using ERP units report run on September 5th, 2019. I'd like to call to your attention to the fact that not all year-end adjustments were reported on September 5th, and while I don't change drastically, it will change as well as the whole process was closing, as we'll proceed with the closing fiscal year 19. To provide city council with the up-to-date report on the condition of the city, as per section 27 of the city charter, we need to design and implement procedures and controls office and the whole that will allow for timely and accurate recognition of all period-related revenues and expenses. One of the requirements of the FRB report states that once the budget is adopted, the council as well as the city manager should monitor actual results in comparison to the budget. If actual results are not in accordance with the budget, it is important for the council to make prompt action to adjust the budget and monitor operations to stay within the adjusted budget. My goal is to provide the council and the city manager with necessary data in this direction. In the projections provided to the city council, it reflects that the results of operations on the three major city funds have resulted in operating losses. The projected decrease in fund balance for the general fund is about $770,000, water fund $120,000, and sewer fund about $300,000. I was also directed by the council to report on areas where there were sizable deviations between budget and actual in the last fiscal year and the course of the variance. I identified those accounts where differences are above goals of $100,000 and 10% of the budget every month. I believe that this threshold is reasonable for today's discussion since the total variances identified added up to approximately 2.6 million or almost 3.5 times as much as projected deficit in general fund 2019 operating results. I'll go briefly through those areas where those variances exist. So they're mostly non-favorable variances. Well, they're all non-favorable variances. And mostly in areas of revenue and some revenues of expenses. So police fees, the budget amount was $500,000, and projected revenues are only about $106 million. $500,000 and projected revenues are only about $106,000. So this unfavorable variance is was explained to me by Commissioner Sackey that the ring of steel, which is licensed fleet speeders at every entrance to the city, has not been done due to manpower shortages, and the department is currently down 5 more officers in addition to 10 that were not replaced in 2012. Last year, passes were budgeted at $475,000, and projected revenues for the fiscal 19 is about $351,000. The difference is probably due to the exceeding optimistic budgetary assumptions in this area. Same is for the beach charges, where also the actual revenues in the full budget by about $160,000. Building and alteration permits. This is reflective of the decline in construction and return back to normal levels of building alterations after peak speed in the prior year due to building after assembly. Budget was actually reduced in this area, with the actual revenues being even lower. As far as court fees, again, it was probably optimistic in this area. Legal and consulting fees, that's actually an expenditure area, and these fees came higher than what was budgeted. The budget was at $525,000, with projected expenses of about $800,000. I have a bit of a breakdown on what contributed to the expense of $800,000. So 240 of that were spent on Haberman, litigation, 180 on iStar, got 175,000 for labor related, $79,000, for the, law firm of the Lewis, Bob, Kaufman, and Meadows, and they represented the city in connection with the Afrobeat report. And the rest was just standard general litigation and court cases. As far as variances in salary-related accounts, this also was a result of very optimistic budgeting, where budgets did not reflect average prior year actual expenses. I'd like to know that once electronic time management that I mentioned earlier is implemented, all functional managers should theoretically see their budget consumption and budget variances real time. While implementing this system is still in very preliminary. Phase zero, basically, we need to mitigate for the lack of this automatic control of reviewing annual reports during the year, discuss substantial non-efficient budget functional management. While we're on the subject of 2019 projection, I'd like to bring a multi-year plan that CNA is engaged to prepare the three major funds of the city, general sewer and water funds, and the office is involved in cooperating with them. CNA methodology is as follows. They will use the 2019 projections to prepare their baseline 5-year plan, basically taking these numbers and projecting them using 5-year historic trends, modified where appropriate to reflect other reasonable assumptions. This plan will identify structural status of city's operations. It will determine deficit or surplus, deficit or surplus, that will result in each city will continue its operation with status quo. The plan is to identify possible solutions to address the deficit and to both identify budgetary gaps through a combination of proposed measures that will be developed in cooperation with state administration. Another goal of the office is to develop a process to prepare accurate cash flow projections. Cash flow projections is an instrument tool that allows for proper administration of the treasury cycle. Identifying projected cash position of the city for all major funds for usually periods of 12 months, or in other words, making sure that there will be enough cash to meet city's obligations at all points during the year, while at the same time addressing the risk of cities incurring the necessary interest expense and short-term borrowing is addressed. Cash flow projections were historically prepared by the consultants in connection with the foundation. I'd like to bring this in-house so it can be managed, updated on more current real-time basis. City's own single audit report is due to be filed with the Federal Clearinghouse 9 months after its fiscal year end, or March 31st. The city issued an RFP that is due October 8th. It was issued last week. Maybe the previous one. I think the issuance of this RFP to be appropriate based on the fact that this year will be the last year from their existing contract and sanctioned with ABC. Hopefully we'll receive number of proposals from qualified firms and we'll be able to select an excellent professional firm with relevant experience in government accounting and coordination. Speaking about audit, city's website includes a link to the city's audited financial statements, single audit report, and then review report. Single audit findings schedule means 11 audit findings, of which 2 are material weaknesses. Material weaknesses in internal controls are defined as a deficiency or combination of deficiencies where there is a reasonable possibility that material misstatements of the entity's financial statements will not be presented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. These findings were attached to the single audit report, and while they are focused on compliance with federal regulations and guidance, it's reasonable to assume that conditions identified are affecting the city as a whole. Out of about 11 single audit findings, 9 including recommendations that suggested that management should establish policies and procedures and develop an internal control system of policies and procedures. The city management is currently finalizing ground policies, as well as travel policy. Travel policy is not a major expense for the city, but also is important to have a policy.
hopefully we'll be able to present these two policies to the city council in October for first review and discussion. And then that concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Actually, thank you, Ms. Lilly, a lot of effort put into that. If you wouldn't mind, can we get a copy of your written notes so we can read them? Maybe come back with some more questions at a later date.
Sure.
Also, you,
I'll email them to you.
whatever you need. You said one of the goals of your office is to identify accurate cash flow projections. Did I get that right?
Yes.
How do you plan to implement that goal?
So there is an existing cash flow projection schedule that was prepared, I believe, in May of 2019 in connection with the bond offering. I will use that as a basis and then look at the cash, at the historical cash positions for the last couple of years and would update that with the budgetary estimates for this fiscal year. It will be a living document and it will require some time to become more and more accurate.
Is that outlined in your report, or that's just an addition to clarify?
That what I just said did not identify in the report, and I should clarify that.
Next question I have for you. Have you been in contact, we had retained a financial planning firm. Have they been in contact with you? Have you been in contact with them? Have they been able to contribute to your analysis? And have they issued any reports that you've seen?
I will give you mentioned CME.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have been in contact with them. I have not seen the 5-year plan or draft of the 5-year plan yet, but I know that they're working on them.
Have you seen any report from them?
As it pertains to the multi-year plan,
Any report?
I don't believe that I've seen any final report, it's a schedule, it's a draft schedule, it's nothing that's actually seen as a report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bennett?
Just, so I did some quick math on your variance sheet, and ballpark, it looks to be about $2.7 million. So is that basically, granted, there's other little differences in the line item, these are the major ones. But is it safe to say we're gonna wind up running a significant deficit for the last fiscal year?
Okay, so my projection, there is a salary each day, and it's, anticipate the deficit to get about $770,000.
Okay, so not 2.7.
There are other items with positive, variances that
That,
I
either
didn't
way,
take
that-
out to the discussion
that's fine.
that hasn't made it that large.
so we're probably looking more, but we're still in the range.
Still, right. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
So I think we'll wait to hear from you with respect to your report that Councilman Mandel has requested.
Sorry, I do have just one quick question. Yesterday, the city staff submitted their response to the state comptroller's draft report. You were told you had input in that, I just want to confirm, did you?
Personally,
That's what we were
I
told.
didn't have input into that report that was submitted on on one of the FRP reports. There are 2 FRP reports each, and I'm still, contemplating how to answer to the second report. I think that maybe an answer is not really necessary because in my 11 weeks here, I did not come to any evidence that wherever they're saying in their report is inaccurate. And that referring to the longer.
So did you see the response the city submitted before they submitted it?
Did not.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll hear from community development.
Thank you for having me. My name's Ryan Witzerman, the acting director. Very quickly, the Community Development Department's mission is to support individuals, families, and neighborhoods in the city of Long Beach by improving health facilities, improving quality of life, advancing economic opportunity, predominantly for low to moderate income individuals. With that, the department administers several grant and other contracts with those goals in mind, including the annual CDBG and urban development funds, which are primarily used for our city building facility improvements, as well as senior programming and a portion for our local nonprofits assistance. Two major projects that we're currently working through with CDBG are what John Brando touched on about the city elevators. There is available funding through CDBG, about $60,000 to cover some of that cost. We also have currently have 4 operating budgets with CDBG. We're going into a 5th soon, which you guys will be approving in the coming months. In the 5th year coming up, we have another $100,000 for 88 bathrooms in City Hall, which I think we might want to explore these for City Hall elevators, considering if the bathrooms are done, somebody that needs ADA access won't be able to reach the bathroom if they don't have an elevator to get there. So we'll be looking probably to transfer some of those funds in the coming months, which again, you guys will certainly see and approve. We also have $175,000 earmarked for housing acquisition and light reduction. Right now, I just been reaching out to the local nonprofits, not locally in Long Beach, but across the island, to have going on a housing partnership to see what can be done there. Also linking into our zombie grant and mortgage registry to see if there's an opportunity for those programs to maybe purchase land for affordable housing with one housing partnership. The department also assists in development and administration of the wastewater treatment plant consolidation grants. We assisted that with the economic development and both works and our consultants over the summer, and we are expecting to hear back whether we received a $5 million grant by the end of this year. We also hold the $250,000 community capital assistance grant, which is also touched on this evening. A significant portion of that, I think it was $115,000 is going to the OEM equipment. So that'll cover a significant portion of the OEM equipment. We're also working through $375,000 from the Department of State, resulting from the financial restructuring board. $250,000 of that is for LED street lighting. The department also holds a NYSERDA Clean Energy Community Grant for $100,000. We are currently working with NYPA, the Department of State, and NYSERDA to combine all that funding and get us to 100% LED light hopefully by the end of this year, if not by next year. In the recent months, we've also recovered it was about $30,000, a little over $30,000 in recovered expenses and lost revenues by conducting utility audits and revisiting contracts and grants from previous administrations. And we also, coming up actually in the next couple of days, maybe actually even tomorrow, and I'm not supposed to really say this in public, but I'm very excited about it. The New York State Department of Conservation will be designating the city of Long Beach as a climate smart community. What that means is a grant that we applied for, but it's really a shout out to the work that the Public Works Department and the Building Department, which you guys heard much about earlier, all the work that they've done to protect and act against climate change. We will be the third community on Long Island. If there aren't other communities that are also going to be designated this week. And that will certainly elevate our grant applications going forward for whatever may be planning or works. With grants, we're also currently identifying engaging nonprofits and others to determine strategic partnerships for housing, financial literacy, and workforce development. We've already had great existing relationships, so with organizations like MLK Inc. and Latino Civic Association, Circle de Hispanidad, Healthy Aware, and the list goes on. We have a great community of nonprofits in Long Beach, so we're working obviously with them through CDBG and a few other initiatives. But also, like I mentioned, nonprofits outside of Long Beach to bring those resources into the city for housing, financial, and workforce development assistance programs, including public events, one-on-one counseling, and online resources. And one thing that's actually coming up on September 30th, MLK Inc., James Hodgen and Monique Powell were proved very valuable partners to myself. That obviously only took over the last couple of months, so they were very helpful getting their feet on the ground. They'll be hosting the CDCLI, the Community Development Corporation of Long Island, and a public meeting at the MLK Center on September 30th, so I'm excited to hear what they have planned and how we can partner and bring additional resources to something like that. Lastly, we have a mission to encourage public participation and awareness. We've undertaken several initiatives, including the redesign of the city website with more information and ADA and language access features. We're constantly adding to that here and there. Funding for ADA improvements to City Hall recently, the doors and the lobby. We were able to cover costs with CDBG funding, and we are currently working with the city clerk and the information technology department to upgrade this chamber here, maybe to include some screens for language access purposes. We also generate a lot of content and do a little bit of event planning. Last week we promoted Mobility Week for alternative transportation. We did that throughout the whole week. And we also hosted the International Coastal Cleanup last Saturday. There was about 200 people signed up. I think this was our 4th year. That was by far the biggest number. We picked up over 200 pounds of trash, which is excellent. This Saturday, the city generally does the Preparedness Month in September. Usually, the New York State Citizens Preparedness Corps would be right here, but they will be at the library on Saturday at 11 o'clock. So I encourage anybody to head over that way to get some information on all sorts of any emergency situation and how you can prepare yourself and your family. And then October 3rd, which unfortunately is just a week away, but we just finalized, unfortunately, that event, which we'll begin promoting tomorrow. We'll be getting through with the schools and Latino Civic Association. We're going to be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, October 3rd, with a free showing of Dora the Explorer. And we also have in the coming months, October and November. October is Energy Action Month, and November is Resiliency. So we will be letting people know how they can help reduce their carbon footprint and protect themselves from future storms. The department also conducts a lot of intergovernmental affairs with elected officials, various state and federal agencies, including FEMA, NYPID, and New York Rising, and the city's environmental advisory board and communication committees. One thing I would like the council maybe to consider there is we do have a lot of, at least in the code or charter, a lot of advisory boards, recreation, environmental, beautification is not a council sanctioned committee, still very useful and productive. But I would like to recommend this is actually our former acting city manager, because he said we would have to give him credit there, a quality of life committee that would then have maybe 7 to 9 members that would break into subcommittees, perhaps into environmental beautification. That will keep the conversation a little focused because just in I think Patty can probably testify as well. The conversations are a little sporadic and all over the place, and I think we'd like to centralize them because there's a lot of interplay between, for example, beautification and environmental advisory board are very focused on commercial sanitation and cleanliness in the downtown. And I think it would be beneficial to have those conversations together. So I'll just leave that recommendation to you guys.
It's an excellent idea. I think we have to find a way to continue to communicate with our residents, to engage them and to allow for them to give voice to issues that concern them. And sometimes there seems to be a disconnect between the city and the residents. This could be an innovative way to bring those voices together. So I think it's an excellent recommendation.
Appreciate it. Lastly, but I think most importantly, arguably, the city launched the Long Beach Complete Count Committee just a couple of weeks ago to plan for the 2020 census. We will do a follow-up plan for October, at which point we have to provide an update at that point. We'll probably have more of a working plan at that time. For the public's sake, the census obviously is one of the most important things that happens every 10 years. The U.S. Census Bureau enters each community in the entire country, and we want to make sure that each resident that resides in the city is fully and accurately counted so that our federal and state dollars are determined by the count that happens with the census. So we want to make sure, as well as our elected representation in Albany and Washington, so we want to make sure that we get everybody counted so that all those resources and our proper representation is accounted for. Yeah, just last on that, with the census, we are also putting a job fair at the MLK Center again with Monique Powell and help from the Long Island Council Committee. At that meeting, I just want to thank the nonprofits and civic associations that came and they came with ideas and they came ready to go. We're excited to start working with them to make sure all of our residents get counted. And lastly, for upcoming resolutions, I think that NYPA Department of State NYSERDA grant project will be coming to you guys for approval in the next, hopefully by the end of the year. I'll leave it at that.
First, again, thank you, and also special thanks to Tyler for working with the International Coastal Day. Really an amazing event, and just to see so many young people out there, just trying to make, just taking care of our ocean, and just really being aware of the fact that we can make a difference with respect to our environment. I felt it was a well-organized event, and also reflected the fact that we have so many community groups, so many other organizations that partner with us. And I think that's what I'd like to see more of. I'd like to see more events where the city partners with local civics and other local organizations. That's the only way for us to really to come together. My only question, I just have one question, and that's with respect to the housing blight reduction. You can just speak to that a little bit more. You said we have $575,000 that's available to us, and you were reaching out to a lot of, I guess, Long Island partnerships. But I guess my question would be in terms of this housing blight reduction, as a city, would we use that money that we had the opportunity to obtain from the block grants to, in some way, renovate those houses? And if you just speak to that process a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I want you to be a part of the conversation with, and it's something that we're exploring now. The money can currently be used for fixing dilapidated homes if the damage is too bad. We can also raise the home with the money. And there's also a possibility that when we raise the home, covering the cost would maybe encourage an organization like Long Island Housing Partnership or others to put their money forward as long as leveraging our funds as well. And I'll definitely be working with Patty Moore, she'll also election.
Any other questions?
Just ask for the same request, we can get a copy of that.
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
All right, I'm going to report now to the city clerk's office. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
4B. That's a lengthy report that has those numericals and legal information in it. So Controller's Office has been involved in preparing for number one in terms of the substantiation of the payouts, the numbers for the payouts for a very long time. Some of that information I have reviewed and approved. As far as seeing the full report in its entirety with all the legal information, I didn't quite get a chance to review that. However, all the numerical information, most of it I got a chance to review before it went to review. I hope that's clarified.
Okay, so you provided some numerical input, but you didn't see the final product before it was submitted. Correct? You did not see this document which was given.
Until early yesterday morning, shortly before, yes, that's correct. But the numerical information, my office has been involved in preparing, and I got a chance to review that. Over there.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, we were told today that it was yourself, Assistant Corporation Counsel Kalinitsky, and Public Works Commissioner Miranda that worked on this with the lawyer, and developed the report. So I'm trying to get clarity on who actually did this. That's why I asked the question. Seems to be a little vague.
To the extent that to the extent of the records that were derived from the system, that were reported on the separation payouts going years back in some cases, that was prepared by the Controller's Office.
Okay, but the actual report itself, you did not.
Compilation of the final report with all the legal information and things like that.
So, and John, you don't have to get up. Did you see the final version before it was submitted?
I saw the final version and made comments on it.
You did?
On the draft version that went into the final.
Okay.
So I think we need to meet.
Just so there's a complete understanding, I looked at the report in terms of protecting the city, in terms of any potential lawsuits, and making sure that the report was complete to any separation pays that were given out.
So why you both stand there? Let me just say, it's a simple yes or no question. Do you both agree with the content of the reply that was submitted by the city?
I agree with the content that was submitted by the city in terms of the legal ramifications that the attorney pointed out. They seem to make sense, but again, I'm not an attorney, so I just reviewed it in terms of, and the only reason I was asked was because I had already been asked about two of the city managers, or acting city managers, and Greg felt it would be a good idea for me to review the report for 1 hour, because Greg was the only one here working with the attorney. Nobody else was involved, including Ms. Agostisi. When he said he recused himself, he meant that he would not come near that report at all.
Okay. So you didn't provide input either. You presented commentary.
I presented commentary on some of the wording and things that I thought needed to be strengthened in terms of protecting the city from any lawsuits from any individuals or otherwise.
Okay. So,
Now that he's our acting city manager, I think Vice President Bennett, we need to be proactive and we should engage in a meeting to get a lot of you.
okay, so I'm just.
We could do that in addition, but
That's fine. So
Oh, no,
it's,
just-
so it
it's
sounds
not
like.
exclusive one to the other.
Right, so the bottom line is, it sounds like the document was prepared by Mr. Kalinitsky and Mr. Capizzola.
The bulk of the document, I believe Greg would correct me if I'm wrong, was developed by the attorney.
Yes.
Right, and Greg commented from a legal standpoint of view, I commented from a business standpoint of view in terms of protecting the city, and including protecting the council to make sure that the council doesn't end up in the jam over this.
Can I ask you, John, do you recall when you first saw the final report, what day that was?
I believe it was Thursday last week. Again, and I saw the final draft, not the the final report. I saw the final draft, made my comments as to things I suggested should be strengthened.
To be clear, why don't you step up to the microphone?
Please use the microphone.
To be clear, we were working on the final draft, myself and Mr. Capizol through the weekend and all the way up until the morning of the meeting. So while they have seen drafts of it at various points, the final wasn't ready until pretty much right before the meeting. So that should clarify the timeline.
Why wasn't the council told about the meeting?
I believe you received an email that invited the council to schedule a separate exit conference because their policy is.
But we were not told about this meeting yesterday. I'm just wondering why.
I believe President Moore informed the council.
No, we were informed after the meeting. Why weren't we informed?
There was an email that was sent out within 3 days, and I remember you responded, I responded, I think we were the only two people that responded.
There was an
So,
email.
let me finish, all right? In terms of the exit conference, I was told that that exit conference, based on the email chain that was going out from William Gomes, I believe his name is, he sent a message saying that he could only meet with one member at a time, and that he would meet with the city council president. And then there was a chain that said that that meeting would take place on yesterday at 10 a.m. I was, at that point, it was my understanding that everyone else would go ahead and they would make the necessary appointments, do whatever they needed to do with William Gomes. It wasn't about me, it wasn't about me in any way keeping anyone out of the meeting. I was just following the protocol and, let me finish. No, I just want to be clear so that there are people in the audience, and I don't want people to think that I came to a meeting without the knowledge of my fellow colleagues, or that I was a part of this, because I came to the meeting to represent the council because of the fact that we were kept out of the process. So I just want to be clear about that.
I think the question was to Mr. Kalnitsky by Councilman Bendo. I don't think it was directed towards you, President Moore.
No, I just
I'm a
want to
little
clarify.
concerned by, I don't think there's a need to
No,
even off that statement by you, but
well,
I agree
now
with
it's there,
Mr. Bendo.
we're trying to get to the bottom
I'll
of
wait
it.
till you're finished, I'm sorry.
We're just trying to get to the bottom of it, so now it's clear.
I don't think there ever was an email telling us that the meeting was taking place on a certain date and time. I agree with Mr. Bendo.
I found out about the meeting because I got a call from the state comptroller's office because they were concerned the city was not going to inform us. So they called to inform me about the meeting on Monday.
Okay, so when did you receive that phone call?
I believe it was Thursday or Friday. So I guess I'm just trying to understand, it seems once again, the city council was left out of this, and I'm trying to understand why.
To be clear, Mr. Bendo, I believe you can still schedule a meeting with the comptroller.
You're answering a different question. You're answering it, I understand that. I spoke to them, I made my views known, Councilman Mandel and I issued that letter, also making our views known, and we will do an appropriate follow-up, but we clearly had, and this is something, obviously you're gonna have to deal with going forward now. We have clearly the disconnect here where the staff made a decision that they were going to act on their own and leave the council out of this process. That's not a recipe for success moving forward.
I'm pretty sure that was not the intention, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the email chains with Greg and all the emails between the council members and the controller's office. Now that I am the person that's gonna be responsible, I will follow up, find out where the communication was dropped and make sure in the future that it's not. And if you wanna have a follow-up meeting with the controller's office, which is important, I think you should.
At the last city council meeting, it was announced by the corporation council office that they would not share the response with the city council in advance. So this was an entirely staff-led response with no input from the governing body of this city.
Well, as I said, all I can do is look through all the emails now and all the communications and find out where there was a drop. And
And I'll
And go from there.
also forward my emails because, the council also, we engaged in emails. actions we take as a council, being that we were aware of the fact that this draft is coming out. And I haven't received any responses to that email in terms of what we intend to do. I did, based on Mr. Kalnitzky's forwarding of the actual large document, which I believe all of us received. I also sent out a message saying that when I met during the exit interview, the exit conference, I asked, that was my request. I was making the request while all of the messages were going everywhere. I was doing what I was told to do in terms of just responding to the messages from my fellow colleagues about making sure that the council was represented there and that we, it was my goal to ask the comptroller's office if we could give voice to this draft, because we had not been a part of the process. And the comptroller's office, the members of the team, they stated that, yes, we would have the opportunity to respond. And so I'm still waiting to hear from the majority of the council in terms of, do we wish to go ahead and respond? We have until September 30th. It's my understanding that if we choose to respond, we can share that information with the public during our next city council meeting, which will be held on October 2nd. But I have not heard anything yet. I'm glad we're having this conversation now. Will we respond as the unified council, or will we send individual responses? And that's where we are right now.
If I could, and thank you, President Moore. I'm a little confused because there's a lot of, it's almost like a tale of two councils. As if there were
Well
two
said.
dialogues going on, because half of what was just recited, I really can't harmonize with what's
Can
actually
you
happening.
go back and read your emails and
If
you'll
I may
find that
finish.
information?
I haven't interrupted you, if I may finish. Most importantly, moving forward, as the new acting city manager, can you please contact them and see if you can get us a 45-day extension so we can get our ducks in line?
Why we work with Ray first thing tomorrow and do that. And also in preparation for taking over as the acting city manager, I've been thinking about some of the things we need to do to unify everybody and make sure everybody has all the information they need and make sure everybody's on the same page. I'm working on a communication, we send it to the council members and staff members on how we should proceed in the future with communication. I think a lot of times, there's sometimes too many individual council members communicating with individual staff members and vice versa without the person who's in charge, and I don't mean to sound like a Napoleon or anything, but without the person in charge coordinating so we all are on the same page. No communication, as far as I'm concerned, should come from a staff member to any single individual council member about any issue without copying all the council members so that all the council members are informed about what's going on. And vice versa. If council members need information from the staff, they should really make sure that as the acting city manager, I have a copy of that so that I can follow up and make sure that people put together the information that's needed and that it goes to everybody so that we're all on the same page, or we may not all agree on things, but at least we'll all have the same information to work on. I think that will solve a lot of these problems.
Okay, thank you.
So, last week I attended the NICOM, New York Conference of Mayors and Office of State Control Fall Training School. So, I gave you a copy of the current summary of the active legislation that's filed. Just a couple of things I just want to highlight that came across during the conference. One, the tax cap, you're aware is now, the change now become permanent. It's no longer, it was set to sunset next year, but it is now, in the last state, made permanent. So it's going forward, it's going to be permanent. Right now, the projected tax cap for next year is currently projected at 1.9%. That's the projection that's going to be after January 1st. Couple small changes with that. Well, first of all, the it'd still be the same, we'll be able to override by a 60% majority. The only other change now is that in years past, the recommendation was sometimes to override, even if you felt you need to override, just as in case of insurance. But that, you will now be required, if we do an override, and then it turns out we come in under the cap, we'll now have to rescind the override. That's just one of the operational part of it, will change going forward. Some other things that were topic of discussion, the e-bikes and scooters, that was another topic of discussion. As was stated earlier, that's currently it's passed the legislature, but it's now awaiting the governor. Don't know if it's going to be action taken on that. Stop arm legislation. That was another hot topic. So there's the new law that allows the school bus cameras. That is something that's going to be implemented going forward. Locally, I asked questions about this while we're up there. If the school district does agree to participate in this program, I believe their intention is that they will. They'll have to work with the local municipality, both us and the town of Hempstead, to implement this. Whereas, the district is in two different municipalities, two different police departments, and, also the county of Nassau would have to be involved as well. There is one other possibility too, the county has the option to create all the local municipalities in the program and take over. So we don't know if we can really reach out and see what the county's intention is, what the school district's intentions are. And we're going to have to be involved either way because of the enforcement. So that's something that's going to be considered. State aid, AIM funding. Good news is this year, that's part of the state funding that we get that pretty much doesn't have any strings attached. At one point, the governor had cut it to all the villages, to 90% of the villages, but it left the cities intact, which was good news for us. The only potential pitfall we face now is, after much opposition, the funding is restored back to the villages. But in order to pay for that, they're redirecting money from the counties as part of the internet sales tax. The new internet sales tax that went into effect this year, and some of that money that the counties were collecting as part of that, the state is now saying is going to be intercepted to pay for the villages' AIM fund. Doesn't affect our funding directly. However, the county, seeing as now this is going to affect the sales tax, it may affect our reciprocal agreements with the sales tax going forward. So it's something we're going to have to look at in the next budget cycle. And there's about, there's 16 pages worth of legislation there that came out dedicated that was prepared by NICOM. It shows stuff that the status of most of the major legislation that's happened in the last, probably in the last session. And a lot of it, some was passed, and some of it's still awaiting action by either the legislature.
My whole question, I guess, is, you were telling me that they offer some valuable training throughout the year. If you can just, if you monitor that, you see something that you think would be of value to either council or the staff.
Well, and just as I mentioned before, you guys are members of the conference of mayors, so you should get emails directly from them when they do have certain training opportunities. The Long Island Village Clerks and Treasurers Association, which I'm currently serving as president of, we partner with NICOM to do several different trainings throughout the year. So certainly, if we're going to partner with anything that is definitely that is definitely significant to the city, we're definitely
Okay.
There are no other questions. I want to thank you and thank all the members of the staff for their reports. And we want to also thank all of you who remained today to be a part of this first work session. Thank you for your patience.
I had a zoning item I was going to discuss, if that's okay.
My apologies, I know it's been a long night, but I'm going to be very brief. It's more this has to do with the North Park Special Zoning District. And I'm hoping to gauge the interest of the council. This is something I've worked on with President Moore. She provided extensive input to me, and I'm hoping that after I go through this a little bit, that the council can come on board with me here. I want to thank my colleague Patty Warren for discussing the importance of the comprehensive plan. And point made at the very end of it by Councilmember Bendo is that it is possible at times to change the zoning code with the caveat that the zoning code is consistent with whatever master plan is enacted. And this is one of those circumstances. So Ms. Moore had a great idea with the Renaissance District, and I think that incorporating mixed use in North Park, after getting residents' input and determining this is something that would benefit that community, is a great idea that can truly revitalize the neighborhood, and we've seen it happen time and time again when we introduce mixed-use districts. But that's for a new comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan that we have now does not contemplate mixed use in North Park. In the interim, we've also made the observation through my time on the zoning board that North Park is not realizing the benefits brought by real estate investments that other parts of the city are realizing. And I think this creates a unique opportunity for the city council to create policy, enact legislation, and take action. North Park deserves the benefits of safe and resilient FEMA-compliant housing. We see how it's changed the West End. However, the benefit of the safe and resilient housing should be extended to other neighborhoods as well. In addition, strong interest has been expressed by the North Park community to have FEMA-compliant housing that is also affordable housing. So I thought that it would be a good idea to create a special district in North Park in combination with the zoning incentive to permit two-family homes as right if the real estate investor or developer incorporates an affordable component. Two-family homes are consistent with the comprehensive plan that shaped our current zoning code, as they were previously allowed as of right until 2000. And North Park itself has a lot of pre-existing non-conforming two-family homes, so that two-family homes would not be out of character for the neighborhood. Now, how to define affordability? I think this is a wonderful discussion to have with the council, and that a good starting point would be the definition from the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, which defines affordable workforce housing as housing for individuals and families at or below 130% of the median income for the Nassau-Suffolk primary metropolitan statistical area as defined by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. I just wanted to introduce that concept. Of course, it's the council that can and should determine what affordable would mean in an affordable zoning incentive. The time to offer this type of incentive is now, as North Park has been identified as an opportunity zone by the federal government, which provides tax incentives to spur developments in certain areas. And these tax incentives do not affect property taxes that we collect. They only impact federal income tax filings. So this is just an additional benefit to entice certain types of developers to come into the area and do the work that the city council provides an incentive for them to do. And that will be at no cost, of course, the opportunity zone. So not only would the council be incorporating an affordable component, which is sorely needed in the city of Long Beach, but whenever there is an increase in housing stock, which we assume would occur here, and the demand stays constant, the increased supply may result in lower overall rents for our residents in the neighborhood as well as the community at large. So in determining what is necessary to pursue the next step for this measure, it would require retaining consultants to perform certain environmental reviews, amongst other things. I've asked for a high-end estimate to determine, exactly how much, it would cost on the high end, and I was told it was $15,000. These costs would hopefully, the minor costs, I think, would hopefully be offset by the construction of new, resilient, FEMA-compliant homes for the residents of North Park
that would have higher assessed values than what currently exists there, which would result in a greater collection of property taxes from the houses that currently exist. So with that, I would like to ask the council if I should pursue this to the next step, retain this expert, and present this to the council in a more formal way.
First of all, thank you, Greg. There's clearly a lot of work went into this, and this wasn't something that you prepared overnight.
No, it was not.
And you said this is something you've been working on actually with President Moore for a while, I'm assuming. It sounds like a very interesting plan. I'm interested in knowing about it. I'm just disappointed that I'm first hearing about this now. This is something I think the entire council would have wanted to jump in on and have a dialogue about. And I'm sure it wasn't the intent, but it clearly gives the perception that the rest of the council maybe doesn't have an interest in our North Park area, and that's clearly not the intent, but that's clearly not the truth about the council. I would have just been happy if I didn't find out about this at the public work session. This is something we could have had an ongoing dialogue about for months, and clearly you put the work in, so kudos to that. Maybe we could just revisit the process, so again, we're all on the same page and we're all included, and we could all be rowing in the same direction and get some great achievements like what you're proposing.
Can I just speak to that? Because I think it's important for people who are listening in, or whatever the situation is. This conversation about the North Park community has been an ongoing conversation for 2 years. Obviously, I was not in leadership at the time, but I worked with the community. I met with the Latino as well as the Black community to just talk to all of the community leaders. There've been several meetings outside of the meetings that Patty Bourne scheduled with respect to the comprehensive plan, because some of you may recall that this plan was tabled, close to 2 years now, it was tabled. And there were, they're not here right now, but some people, two of the members of our council had expressed the fact that they felt that they were being labeled because of racial issues. And so I went back into the community to have those conversations about what is the future of the area. Because of one, there are several houses that are zombie houses, but also the area currently is experiencing a higher level of gentrification in terms of the building that's taking place right now. And so in January of this year, I did come back to Patty Bourne to say, look, I don't know where we are, but this is the information that I found. And I did share that information in January of this year, with the intentions that at some point as a council, we would have meetings so that we could discuss some of this. It was unfortunate that in 2 years as a council, we haven't met together as a council to have conversations. But because we were doing this work session in anticipation of the work session, I did send a copy of my my work notes. I sent that to the entire council. Now, there's been a lot of emails going back and forth, and I'm sure because of the fact that we had to prepare for this evening, that everyone didn't have the opportunity to read it. But I would welcome a conversation with my colleagues, that we can have a conversation about this, because I think this is, as Councilman Mandel pointed out, is noteworthy. I think we need to begin having these conversations. So I just wanted to clarify that I haven't been really, to do this, but this was an ongoing conversation with the communities, not so much with the city officials here. That's out of my hands. The actual North Park Concerned Citizens Organization has continued to be on a regular basis with Patty Bourne of Economic Development, and Mr. Kalninsky was included in some of those meetings. And so those meetings, because I'm a strong advocate for the community, I was aware of those meetings. And so I continue to work on my notes based on those meetings.
And I would just like to clarify something as well. Councilmember Mandel, the reason I raised this issue here is because I thought it would be inclusive to raise it here in front of the entire council and include the public so that they know exactly what work we're doing and can participate and be a part of it and hear how. My intent was never to make any implications as to your views or any other council members' views of certain neighborhoods. I think this is an important project, and I think we have to do something right now to help the North Park community, and I think this is a very good way to do it. I think this is a great way to set up for a public hearing, and formal together, in a form that the council could look at and engage with and adopt. Okay? With that being said, is this something that I should go forward with and put in a more formal format?
I know, I mean, like I said, I'm hearing about this for the first time, so I'll obviously read what you said, but if you have information you can send and we can read. It certainly sounds like it has merit, but I need to just learn some more about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair for anyone here to have to make a decision.
That's fair. What I will do then
Oh,
is I will follow up with the council. I know obviously some members aren't present right now, and I will summarize what I said and the next steps that need to be taken. And I hope that you'll direct me to take those next steps, because I think this could be a very beneficial thing, not just for North Park, but for the entire city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for us, I guess it's our work session. We had a couple of action items tonight in terms of moving forward with a letter of communication to the Army Corps in support of the project as referenced by Commissioner Miranda. Also, that we would find time to meet with Patty Bourne to discuss the comprehensive plan further. That we would also meet, or at least inquire with Brian with respect to the Quality of Life Committee that was referenced, as well as based on Greg's report, that we would, as a council, define affordable housing, but then also look into this whole issue of taking some type of formal action. And then we would also then meet with Ina regarding our questions in terms of some of the unfavorable benchmarks that she pointed out to us. And I would also say that at some point, we also need to have a conversation about the link that you received 2 weeks ago in terms of the Open Finance Socrata document. The entire council received a link so that you can look at the demonstration site. So we can begin talking about how we can get open, at least for allow our residents to have open access to our financial documents. Are there any other items that I missed? Anything else you think you'd like for us to follow up on?
Some questions may come out once we see the written.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna generate additional questions.
Okay, so we'll just follow, make sure we have a report. Okay, so we'll make sure we have a report.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank my colleagues for being here. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening.
Just remember, our next meeting is on Wednesday,